Hey folks, today I'm going to be showing you some sketching techniques for busy artists. Now this is very similar to a previous video that I had posted where we just took a lot of silhouettes made by gray Prismacolor marker, 20%, and we did random shapes and then we can see what thumbnails came out of it. So it's similar to that, except that one was more of a sci-fi theme, you know, spaceships and such, and I've done some for creatures. But this one is more along the lines of, hey, I don't really know what the theme is going to be, but I just want to draw something cool to see what comes out of it. So you can see that I did a little reconnaissance robot. It probably floats, and I put a nice little black vignette behind it and added some color. I'm going to show you how I did all of these steps, so just make sure to follow along with me. And if you got a sketchbook, that would be awesome too. All right, so with this in mind, we all have busy lives. Okay, artists, dancers, whatever profession you have. Okay, and if you like drawing, sometimes, or a lot of the times, you just don't have time to do it, or you feel like you don't have time. So in this case, I'm just going to show you the power of scribbling these shapes on so that you don't have to be bogged down by making something awesome all the time. I'm using a ballpoint pen. It's a standard Bic ballpoint. I'm drawing on moleskin paper, and the gray that you see here is a 20% cool gray by Prismacolor. And then for the color, I'm using some Ho2 markers, then black Prismacolor, or black ballpoint. So what I'm doing is I'm trying my best to stay within the shape that the original gray silhouette offers. I'm going to be spending a little bit more time on these thumbnails just because they're smaller, so I need to see what the heck is actually going on that surface. It's kind of a creepy looking face, more like a sci-fi helmet. I'm all for that, maybe spider-like. I remember back in the 90s when I was a teen, I used to always watch Guyver and all those really cool shows. Power Rangers, yeah, maybe, but not nearly as much as Guyver. See, I don't want to overdo this, but I think what I am going to do is put in more detail around those eyes. Very spider-like. I'm still happy with it. And at this stage also, you don't have to worry about making things perfect. So here I am drawing ahead. If it's a little bit out of perspective, I'm just going to allow myself to do that, because you can always choose a sketch at a later time and refine it. Alright, so I think that's kind of neat. I mean, with helmets, pretty much anything goes. I'm going to add a little bit of color to that. I'm going to come over here and grab some green. Let's see what happens when I put some green on it. Maybe a green neck. Neck only. And then possibly bring some of that green up on the forehead right there, and then maybe a stripe down the center. That's all I'm going to do as far as the color goes for the green. And then, last but not least, I think I'll put in black. So let's see where the black, yes, it's over here. I found it. Okay, enough wasting time. So you'll notice the black vignette around here. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. So the more complex the subject matter is that you draw, the simpler the vignette needs to be surrounding it, and vice versa. So if you draw a very simple shape, then you can get away with having the vignette be more complicated looking. Look, I don't want to get any crazier than this. Maybe I'll just extend it out a little bit, color it in, but nothing too major. Maybe add in some little accent blotches, I guess you can call them. You know, it looks kind of cool, but you don't want to overdo it. You know, you could just make your page look pretty with neat sketches. And then last but not least, let's number them. Okay, let's move on to the third thumbnail that I did. I don't know what that is. I just took a grayscale marker and I just started pummeling the page with weird marks. So let's see what happens. Could be a giant flying insect. It could be a remote control that you hold with your hand because of this part down here. Or it could be this strange little spaceship. My guess is that it could be a very, very weird spaceship. Similar to what Scott Robertson draws, because he's got some pretty cool pretty cool ship designs that are really funky. Okay, so it kind of looks like a gizmo. You know, something that doesn't fly, something that doesn't hunt you down. It's not a creature, but it's more like a little gizmo that maybe attaches to armor or something larger, comes out of a ship. I don't know. But you can see that I followed that shape. I tried to stay with it as best as I could. Okay, there we go. And I love putting light, medium, and dark lines from a ballpoint pen against a marker after it dries, just because it offers this really awesome industrial design feel. And not just for ID, but for any subject matter you're sketching with. You know, it could be characters, creatures, props, vehicles, even environments. You know, it offers a really cool little texture. Okay, so you can see this pill shape, that wasn't really in the silhouette coming into the body like that. I just decided to put it in there because, hey, the theme is sketching techniques for busy artists. So you're pretty much going to be freeing up your mind and just doodling whatever you want. All right, remember that. There's no subject matter. So let's say you're a senior artist and you're working in studio and you're kind of burnt out about what you're drawing. You know, you can just start making up stuff that you don't get to draw on a daily basis. You know, the higher up you move in the department and on the pipeline, the less you get to draw. So I always like watching senior artists and art directors and creative directors really start to draw again, and we can see their true skills coming out. It's really nice to watch. Okay, I don't know what color to put in there. Let's see. I'm just kind of looking over to my right, and I see some awesome colors. Hey, I think it's time for some pink. Why not? There we go. Put that nice masculine pink in there. And then maybe put a pink up here on the scope. I just call it a scope as if it's a gun. It's not a gun, it's pointing down. I don't know what that is. But you know, it's not complete without a neat little vignette. So I'm thinking this vignette, I want to accent this bottom part right here. So I'm just going to put in a very thin vignette to go across this body. See how careful I'm being. This could be jet black. It doesn't matter what marker you use. You can be using a permanent marker. Okay, nothing fancy. Like that. So I just add like a little whippet at the end of that. Another thing I believe I need is some better pen lines in the back here. So if you watched my previous car design video and making it look like the car is in motion, or a product for that matter, good to add wispy lines that kind of shoot off from shapes to show motion. So you shoot the shape, or bleh, that's going to be a blooper. I'm not editing that out. If you shoot the line in a specific direction, then it looks like the subject is moving opposite that direction. So it's moving through space. It's kind of fun to do that. I almost cursed there, so I had to catch myself. Okay, next one. I mean, I'm looking at this right away and I'm seeing a spaceship. So let's do that. Let's just put a little shape in there, some wings hanging off to the side. You can see that there's a lot of random bits where the marker spread on its own. There's some thick parts, some thin parts. So let's see what happens when we keep the bottom of the body rather hard surface, and then maybe up top here there's some really funky stuff just piling up onto the side. You know, like, who's to say that alien spaceships don't have craziness coming off of them? I mean, we've all seen District 9, or at least I hope you do. Neil Blomkamp is one of my favorite directors. I don't care what you say about that. We need a sequel to District 9. So if Hollywood is hearing me right now, please let him do a District 9 and leave him alone. I'm defending Neil Blomkamp right now. You all don't trust that man with anything, and yet he's better than most of the stuff in Hollywood. Okay? I should be quiet now. But anyway, let's see what we can... Oh yeah, it's coming right at us. There we go. Okay, we got some really neat shapes in here. I don't know what's going to happen with these wings. Let's find out. So it's coming right at us. I'm thinking maybe this could be the cockpit. Okay, and we got the little bars to help the pilot. So there's the cockpit. And then it kind of looks like a dolphin in the front. It's kind of cool. Let's turn this a little bit just to see what happens. I think we're going to need some wispy shapes. Nope, I just screwed that up. Okay, let's put in some hatching for shadows right here. Bottom of the cockpit. I'm darkening that cockpit up because it's coming out farther than the rest of the body. So maybe we'll just draw half of the wing on this side. Yeah, I'm not sure how much that's going to work. But let's see. When in doubt, add small little shapes up there to add the realism. Now it looks like a happy inchworm. Man, I'm just striking out, aren't I? There could be some ballistic missiles up here. Maybe like a giant weapon down here on the bottom. Why does it always have to be weapons, right? Because they look cool. Doesn't mean I actually like what they do. They just look cool. Okay, let's choose another color here. Let's do something a little bit more earth tone. I don't know if this is military green, but it looks really similar to it. So let's see what happens. And you can't even see it. Maybe on the wing a little bit. It may be too dark. But I don't want to overdo it because I don't want to take away from the rest of the body. So we can add a lighter color. This time orange I think will work just because the green is dark enough. So let's put like a bright orange up here and then maybe on the cockpit, the window to bring it out, and then maybe a little bit over here next to those missiles. There we go, and maybe a stripe here. Okay, and I don't want to do anything else. Now, here's a prime example of do not overdo the vignette. So we need to figure out the best course of action for this shape. And I think the best course of action is what part of the ship do we want to show off the most? Definitely the front. What we could do is we could just, oh boy. Okay, how about this? We'll come across, down. We'll go down past the wing, and then we'll go halfway on that wing and shoot over in this direction. Okay, so we're going to color everything in here black, and then we're just going to leave a little bit open for that wing on our left. There we go. I do have some white highlighter. It's from Elmer's. it's this, in case I really need it. Elmer's Painters Opaque Paint Markers. And they actually do work. So if I need to put a highlight on something and I've already markered it in, it definitely adds a really nice touch to it. And I'm also just leaving the tone of the paper to show the outline. Okay, that's not bad. I probably could have done better, but you know, it is what it is. So there's number 4. Okay, let's move on to number 5. Okay, here we go. So right away, it looks kind of like a satellite or some kind of tower that's attached maybe to another building. I have these really weird oval shapes here, and it looks like a bar goes across. Not sure how much this is showing up on my camera, but we got the body of it right here. Kind of looks like a spear, and then we have, I'm putting these arms in. These don't exist in the gray, but these do down here, so it's pretty cool. It's like the butt of a spear or something. Okay, yeah, it definitely could be a little satellite. Try not to make it look clunky, but kind of hard to not to. So I'm just going to add little bits here and there to bring out the realism that this thing may be larger than what we think. All right, so let me just kind of go over briefly why, or not briefly, I'm going to go into more detail, why this is so important for artists to do. If you struggle with imagination, if you can't figure out what to draw, how to draw it, or if you're just running out of ideas, it's good to scribble shapes on and embrace those scribbles and just see where your hand takes you. Because it's time to stop worrying so much about perfecting every single shape you put down. It just hinders your progress. And it's okay to draw things that suck. Like, we all do. We all have those sketches that we don't show the public. It doesn't matter how good you are. We have that stuff that we don't want anybody to see ever. And the funny thing about that is, if you were to get somebody else to see those drawings, they tend to like those better. It's so weird. That just goes to show that our bias against our own work is non-productive. We have to let everything happen in order to really come up with great designs. So this kind of goes back to treating your sketchbooks like your own diary, and also don't ever throw anything away or cross it out when you're in the midst of a project, either a personal project just for your portfolio's sake or on the job, because you never know what somebody else may see in your work. Now, it is hard to trust a random person's opinion about your work, especially if they like it and you know it's not good. All right, but at the end of the day, and the beginning of the day and in the middle of the day, doesn't matter what time of day, that design could hold potential to be a very awesome personal project that could get you hired one day. I just put that down. I hope I didn't overdo it. But I think I know that the vignette, I'm not going to cover those strange arms coming out. It's just too much. So instead, why don't we just have fun with the vignette and just kind of do an oval. Now you're probably wondering, how did I know to put an oval in there? Well, it's very simple. It's one of the 4 simple shapes: cubes, cones, cylinders, and spheres. And if you look at the body of this satellite, I'm just going to call it a satellite, it's a very complex shape. There's a lot of little moving parts and intricate silhouette parts happening. So I think, the silhouette of a sphere will counteract that. I want to show you guys what this Elmer paint marker does. Okay, that's the tip of it. You just shake it like this, and if you need to put on a highlight on the side, maybe where the ink kind of bleeds in too much with the black, you'll see the outline show up. Just use this rarely. You just want to put like a finishing touch over stuff. This goes over the ink and basically everything, whatever you put down. If you're using a black Prismacolor and then the vignette is black, sometimes the pen and then the black of the marker will bleed together and you can't really tell where one part of the subject begins and then the other one ends. So you want to be careful of that. And I think I'm just going to outline up here too. You got to give it time for this white to really kick in. Okay, so it's just opaque paint markers. Okay, you just shake it and then just let it fill up with the liquid at the end of it, and then you can use it. It's really nice. And I'll link this as a product that you can purchase at the beginning and end of this video. If you just watch the little product bar shoot across the video thumbnail, then you should be able to see it. Okay, oh wait, we gotta number it. 5. If you are enjoying this completely random set of sketches to, booster your busy schedules, please comment below and let me know what you're working on. I would love to hear it if you're an art director in a studio, or you're a senior artist and you just haven't found any time to draw anymore. Let me know what's bothering you, and it's just a good time to vent too. You can also join our Discord for that matter and show pictures of your pets. we definitely have a forum where you can show your pet pics, and it's really cute. You guys have some crazy pets. I haven't seen any lizards yet, but it's Creature Design for Film and Games Discord. There's a link in the pinned comment as well as the description below, so please check that out. This thing needs a better face. There we go. I thickened the head up just a little bit because I didn't think that was working too well. Also, the hip section is not good. Maybe the side of this, oh man. See, that's the deltoid. Okay, and I'm just lightly putting in some anatomy here, because whatever I drew is not making sense. Gotta put in that throat. Some hatching going across the back legs. Did I just say across? There's no T at the end of that. I gotta catch myself. Alright, there's some darker outline for the bottom. Let's just have fun with this, guys. Let me know what you're drawing too. There we go. That's kind of cool. Since this is a creature and it's more organic, I have to shade just a little bit more to show you what the body surface is actually doing. An outline won't really cut it. Maybe it has hooves. That'd be kind of cool if it had hooves. Okay, I gotta put a ground plane on there because that is awful. I put a couple of the feet a little too low. I don't know how this thing would like walk. Okay, I'll put some eye there. Maybe a nice little ear. It's like the Paraceratherium. Okay. Color, I don't know. What do y'all think? Just shout at your screen, even though I have no idea what you're going to say. Say color or no color? I think I'm going to put some color, but I think I'm going to need more of a desert tone for a creature. So with that said, I'm looking over here at my colors. Some of these definitely will not work. I think this one will. Let's see what happens. Wish me luck. Oh, you know what would be cool? If we put some stripes down it. There we go. Yeah, like that. Like down the body. Color the top of it, maybe the top of the tail here. And then some stripes on the thighs. And then definitely the head. Yeah, that's kind of neat. Okay, so let's use black for the silhouette. And we got this one. So we can get away with another rectangle, but I think I want to show off some of that face and not necessarily the legs. Okay, so we're just going to bring this back. Notice how careful I'm doing this. I'm not going to go all the way back, just about halfway to the tail. Maybe a little bit more. You don't want to be predictable. Even with vignettes, there's an art form to vignettes also. You don't want to be predictable with them. You don't want to cut shapes in half because then it becomes boring. Instead, if it's coming down the tail, notice how I went slightly past halfway and I didn't go all the way down evenly to halfway between the legs. I just did the upper part of the body. I think that's going to add a little bit more realism to it. Or not realism, just interest in general. Put a little fun party goers right here. Okay. Happy little party goers. And then, hey, why don't we just get more creative? Maybe look, I don't know if this is going to work, but I think it will. I'm going to put a thin layer where the shadow would exist if the body were to cast that onto the ground. And I'm not going to get crazy with it. I'm just going to use the brush tip of this and just lightly ghost that in, and that's it. So now it looks like the creature is actually occupying 3D space on a 2D plane, just with adding shadow down there. Oh yeah, I think it's working now. All right, so down here it looks like we have some creatures. This one may be some organics and machine mixed. Looks like we have a flying beast. I'm actually really excited about the flying one more than the other ones. This one just looks like a straight up pistol. And then if I move down here, this could be a very skinny spaceship or some kind of space device. I have no idea. So let's see what happens. All right, so I'm following the shape here, and I can clearly tell that when I drew this, my intention was to have this round part as the head, so it looks like the creature's facing our right. Sometimes I get comments asking me if I know what I'm drawing with the grayscale marker before I even put down lines with a pen. With this particular page, I kind of did. So with each shape that I put down here, I knew that I wanted this to be a creature, this to be a weird satellite, this one to be a spaceship. So I just gave myself some kind of indication on what it could be, and then I just let the pen do the rest of the work. I don't know if this is going to work, just because, or well, let me rephrase that. Whenever I add pen on top of these gray markings, if I ever had an intention of what it was going to be with the gray marker, I don't really know if the pen is going to complement that. So that's why I just allow myself to put the lines down and see what happens versus trying to be perfect with it. So really my only concern would be to try to follow the silhouette of the gray as best I can. So those of you drawing along with me and you find yourself in the same predicament where your grayscale, like the splotch that you put down, your intention is a certain silhouette or a certain type of product or a creature, and then when you put your pen down, try not to mimic that too much. Just when you see the silhouette of it, just try your best to follow that along and just to see what happens. A lot of the time, just seeing what happens is the most fun part. Okay, so it looks like this has turned into an astronaut that has been mutated with his suit or her suit, because like the visor right here and the big dome for the head, and it looks like the hands are beast-like. Ooh, this is turning into be a pretty gnarly looking thing. Kind of cool. See, and this is, even for my standards and how I draw weird stuff, I would never even think of this. Just because we all have our things that we like drawing and ways that we start our subject matter, and I would never start with a space suit mixed with a dog front limbs and then a weird, I can't even explain it. There we go. And I'm adding thick to thin lines in here. Some of them light, some of them medium, some of them dark. And you know what? I don't think it's complete without the indication of a face. How creepy is that? Maybe you guys can see it, I'm not sure. So I'll try to leave that visor as white as I can right here so that it sits up against the small little face in there. And if I do have a face in there, I'm going to try to find the best marker I can for flesh color. There are a couple. Yeah, I can use this one. Okay, let's see. It might be a little too orange. I don't know. Let's see what happens, because it doesn't have to be human. Okay, so it kind of has that peach color in there. There we go. So if the face is that color, then what I could do is just add in some of the skin tone with the arms and maybe a little bit up here. But I don't want to go overboard with it. I think this is good enough. The rest is metal, and I don't need to worry about it. Okay, so here's a tricky part. If I want to add a silhouette to this, all right, there's a lot of stuff going on down here, especially with different metal parts here that looks like there's a tube or a wire, and then the hands down here. So if I put a block behind it, that's a lot of intricacies I have to work around. I'm going to keep this simple. I'm going to make a skinny rectangle, and I'm just going to put it as a backdrop, because the top of the body that I drew is the simplest part of the drawing. So all I'd have to do is outline it like this. So if you see here, I skipped putting the marker directly up against the visor. Instead, I added or left out some black right here, which is the tone of the paper, because I just want that highlight to show up. I don't want to use that paint marker. There we go. Okay, so that is our weird space person humanoid, and that would be, oh, I didn't number our beast up here. That's 6. Okay, this is 7. Okay, let's move on. Look at this one. This is the one I wanted to get to. All right, so maybe if I start with the face first, because I kind of know that maybe this is a bird with a beak. However, it's a little bit dinosaurish. All right. This is one of those rare instances where I kind of know what I want this thing to be already. It's almost like a bird creature, but wyvern at the same time. There's the little arms right there attached to the wings. Maybe it can't fly very well, or maybe the limbs that it has really don't function as good as it hopes when it's flying. And also the legs down here and all these shapes. I'm thinking into my head, what have I seen on National Geographic? And what am I doing wrong? And what do bat wings look like? I'm trying to rack my brain to see, like, is the anatomy right on the bat wings here? And I'm like, Bobby, you're not drawing a bat. So that's the inner voice of me trying to be perfect. And it's, I'm just basically telling myself to shut up. Just have fun with this. Okay, there we go. So it's turning out pretty cool. Very simple too. So there's not a lot of stuff to add on here. I don't have a lot of scales, fur, spikes, anything like that. It's just a very simple parrot-like face, thick neck with the trapezius muscles that are really big, shoulder mixed in with the chest here. And then the wings, I'm not going to add a lot of markings on the wings. What I am going to do is I'm going to outline it. This is why I like using a pen, because the ballpoint pen allows for a skinny line infinitely. So I don't have to constantly worry about sharpening my pencil again. Yeah, it's just a little convenience. It just depends on what you're in the mood for and what you want to draw with. There we go. So I'm pretty happy about this, actually, because see, if you guys are drawing with me right now and you're drawing something very simple and you're actually happy with it, congratulations. That's the whole point. You want to be simple with these things. You don't have to be super intricate with everything that you draw. I know it's a cliche thing to say, but simple is better. It really is. You can do a lot of really neat, unique things with color and with texture. You don't have to draw the details in all the time. And like as far as color goes, there's a lot of possibilities here, but I think what I'll do, it looks like it needs a red. For some reason, it just looks like it needs a red. So let's see what red does. I'm going to use a really harsh red here, and hopefully it doesn't bleed, but I'm going to put that right on the head, right down the middle, so it looks like a stripe going down. It's almost like war paint. And then I'm going to put a little bit on the wings and then the wing tip. There we go. And I think that's good for now. I could put some shadow in there with a marker, but I want to keep the first gray tone as the shadow, and I'm just going to put some ink in there for the shadow. I did change my mind just a little bit. I'm going to add red one more place, and I think it's going to help it. Right on the chest. Right there. That's it. Okay, so now let's add a little vignette. So how would we tackle vignette with large wings? I want to draw emphasis towards the face only. I don't really care about these wings coming out as much, because those will take care of themselves if you outline them well. I want to show this cool head area. So I could do another square, but let's put a rectangle in here, and I'm going to look where the halfway point is on the neck, and I'm going to go a little bit farther than that. I'm going to bring it out, and I'm just not going to reach the hand. I'm just going to take it down, go through the body here, and then go right about knee level, and then back up, and then I'm going to bring the marker down and color that part in. There we go. So now what that does is the black acts as a complement right on the face. So that's a good method to use. Okay, let's number this one, number 8, and let's move on to number 9. So here we have our big gun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the sketchbook this way just because straighter lines are going to be easier for me to draw. And I'm trying to think of what the thickest part of this gun is, including the scope. And I'm just lightly putting it in here with all the little outlines. Some of them I'm not going to do because they don't make sense. But we'll we'll see what happens. So maybe the trigger can be here. And the scope definitely there. If you're finding yourself drawing a lot of weapons in your sketchbook, that's pretty awesome. Weapons are really fun to do because there are so many different styles, like steampunk, fantasy, modern, like you name it, and even really creepy. So you mix in a little bit of creature with it too. And they also don't have to be perfect. Just know that your weapons should complement the world that you're building. And if you're doing this for portfolio's sake, try to avoid doing weapons that make no sense. I see it all the time. I see like the ejector cartridge in a place where it's not supposed to be. Guns that don't load well. This is just chicken scratch basically. So if I were to work for a client or a studio and they needed me to draw a weapon, this is obviously not going to be one because I haven't figured anything out yet. All I'm doing is just trying to make a cool shape just to see what sticks. And then what I would do is I would take this thumbnail that I'm doing and do probably 25 to 30 more thumbnails just to flesh it out before I would ever even consider having something final. I think that's what happens a lot in portfolios. They're rushed way too much. Work is rushed way too much because people think that they have to have something in there. And the truth is, while quantity of work is important to show that you can continuously make stuff, quality is way more important. If you design weapons for games and you want to get a job doing that thing, it's better to have 2 really awesome pieces in your portfolio versus 10 with 8 or 9 of them looking mediocre and 1 of them looking good. Because what's going to happen is a studio or a client, if you're a freelancer, is going to look at those 2 pages that are mediocre, and they're going to think that that's what you're going to make for them on a bad day. They don't care about the stuff that looks good in there, because if all of it doesn't look good, then it just means you don't know how to self-edit. And if you can't self-edit, then what's going to convince them that you can self-edit the work that they're going to give you? And I've stated this before in a couple other videos. You want to avoid being handheld in in all of your work, basically. Don't you like how I just go off on these little side tangents that you didn't ask for? I'm sorry. Whenever I draw, my mind goes, and I just try to give as much wisdom as possible to help you guys out. And a lot of it is kind of hard to hear, but I don't really mean for it to be, a personal attack on you, because I'm guilty of almost all of the stuff that I've said anyway. I'm not going to give this color at all. I think the weapon itself should stay gray. So I'm keeping these vignettes very simple for the sake of, having that juxtaposition of an intricate subject that I'm drawing and then a simple vignette, and then it would be vice versa. So I think I'm not going to do a rectangle either, because 90% of the shapes that I just drew are rectangles, and I don't want that to be the same. I probably could do another sphere. So let's do that. Where to start the sphere? I'm just going to do it in the center. Right here. Right like that. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm pretty confident that it will. Okay, and I'm just going to be very careful on where I place the black so I don't color over anything that I need to show. I've done that actually. I've accidentally colored over spots where I wanted to show off because that was the, you know, the selling point of the weapon or the thing that I'm drawing, and you can't get that back if marker goes down. It's absolutely impossible, so I don't want to ruin the sketch. There we go. You gotta be careful when you use spheres for vignettes. I kind of notice a little thing that maybe I don't like, and that is the parallel this part of the gun and then that part of the vignette. It's kind of the same. So take it or leave it, you know? I don't think it's a failure. It's just a thumbnail. I'm just filling my page with thumbnails. Remember, these are just ideas, folks. I'm not getting all bent out of shape if I do something quote-unquote incorrectly. Okay, last but not least, we are on number 10, and this is the spaceship. This is a very weird one, so let's see what happens. And I know my shapes are going horizontally, and there's a lot of rounded parts here, so that's kind of neat. A lot of little lumps here and there. I've seen some spaceships in sci-fi movies like this, but nothing along these lines. Maybe these are different pods or sections in the ship where people have to travel to, and they, you know, they're in like these little domes when they're in space. Who knows? Notice how I'm keeping my pen strokes very light. I'm just moving across the gray, trying my best to stay on that gray silhouette, because I can always correct it later. So I think the bottom should be the longest. I'm trying to look at the proportions here. You know, we got a big fat upper part of the ship, and then we have that thin middle part, and then the bottom, you know, it could probably have not a weapon. This isn't a fighting ship, or maybe it isn't even a ship, I don't know. If it is, then it's very skinny and it might not house a lot of people. But there are some parts where I'm happy with how the lines are turning out. It actually looks like a gun too, I'm not gonna lie. Most spaceships do look like guns if you really look at them, which makes it so cool. You could be dedicating an entire page to guns, and then all of a sudden you just drew an entire page of spaceships instead. It's very neat how it works like that. So hopefully, those of you drawing along with me, this is sparking your imagination. You know, if you're running out of things to draw, or if you just need a new method to draw things, this is the whole reason why I'm doing this page of thumbnails. Just so it can help, you know, alleviate some of that stress of not being able to come up with something cool. Okay. Now I gotta be careful in here not to get too carried away. These domes, they do need a base, so I'm thinking maybe I can outline the bottom of it. I don't know. Okay, use my pen here, put in some shadow under there, and then another thing that I have to do is the bottom of this. That's going to be the darker part. I'm just going to thicken that up. Now that I just thickened that up, it almost looks like a speedboat. So here we go, folks. We have a gun / spaceship / speedboat, all in one thumbnail. That's the beauty of thumbnails. When you can leave it open for interpretation, you know, 10 people can walk up to this thumbnail and see 10 different things. It's all about sparking the imagination. And even if I never use this, I have this now as part of my arsenal, okay, of my personal collection of thumbnails that I can use at a later date. Well, let's put some color on that. I'm gonna use this green. Let's you know what? Yeah, green up here, and then green here, and then maybe back here. In the front too. There. Use that green in the front, and then maybe right there to kind of pull it off. Okay, that's our little spaceship doohickey. And then last but not least, let's put in a little vignette. We need something very simple here. Okay, so I'm just going to do a square. I'm just going to do a simple square. And I'm just going to outline this shape. I might be putting in that Elmer's white paintbrush here because I don't want to seep my black vignette into the ink, and I think that's what's happening. So let's do that. I'm going to shake in some of this, which is the Elmer's opaque paint marker, and I'm just going to line it on the top here, just so that all shows up. There we go. Okay, nothing special, but it does work. And last, let's number it. So we have done 10 thumbnails, folks. Good job. If you guys are following along with me, we've done 10 thumbnails. I'm really proud of you. We got all this done. You know, hopefully this has sparked your imagination. So before we sign off here, there are a couple things that I want to announce. And while I announce these, I'm just going to touch up some areas. If you check the pinned comment, I have some links that I would like you to look at. One is our Discord channel. It's Creature Design for Film and Games, and it is a free Discord to join. And you can join a community of like-minded folks that just want to get better at drawing, not necessarily only learn about creatures. We have every subject matter possible in there. You can draw creatures, vehicles, props, or if you're a hobbyist, just to be a better artist in general and learn, you know, the fundamentals of drawing. We have a huge cache of reference, animals, environments, props, you name it. And everybody asks questions on there. We have a doodle forum. You can ask art-related questions for feedback for your portfolio. So please join that. And we also have monthly creature design challenges where I'll give a brief, and then you have a full month to come up with it. And we have a voting system to see who wins. You don't win cash. You don't win anything other than a fun bragging right. Okay. The second thing I want to mention is my online course, Creature Design for Film and Games, that I teach for Computer Graphics Master Academy, or CGMA for short. Winter term is approaching, and the final week and a half to sign up is now. Okay, so please check the link in the description for that. There is a cap on students, and we officially start at the very end of this month, so take advantage of that sign up. And then thirdly, I want to talk about my mentorship. So if you're a struggling concept artist, or if you're already in the industry and you want to touch up on your skills, maybe you haven't, maybe you've forgotten the basics and you just want to get back into drawing, do some personal projects, I offer a mentorship. So if you email me at bobbyrebholtz@gmail.com, we can discuss, the best course of action as far as what time zone you're in, what kind of assignments you want, what your short and long-term goals are, who you want to work for, all of that. And I cover a wide range of subject matter. We can do environments, we can do marketing, we can do creatures, props, characters, you name it. And I just give my 12, 13 years of experience in the industry and teaching, and I'll help you as best I can to kick things off, even world building. So, also another disclaimer for that. I get a lot of potential students asking me, well, do I have to be good enough to do the mentorship? And I think that's a backwards way of thinking. You get better because you're going to take the mentorship. So it doesn't matter your skill level. I accept all skill levels. So if you can't draw a stick figure, or if you can draw really well and you just need to learn something new, I'm here to help. This is how you re-spark your drawing, and I hope you learned a lot. I want you guys to take care. Thank you all for listening, and I will catch you all later. Peace.